I'm guessing just right before the armpit. I don't really know. I've never constructed a sweater this way. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 153 of the Love in Stitches podcast. Today is Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. So happy October. It is the first podcast of the month, which means I'm going to be talking about all my plans for the rest of the month, all my knitting plans. Yeah, I don't think there's any crochet plans for this month, but that will be coming up later on. It is a rainy, cold day. I think it is the first day that it is sub 50 degrees this season during the middle of the day. We've hit that like in the early morning, but not very often yet. So I'm finally comfortable with no air conditioning on. We haven't needed to turn on our heat or anything yet. And I'm wearing a sweater. I've been trying to wear my knitting more often because sometimes I just don't. So today I'm wearing my long summer cardigan by Hoagie Locatelli, which I finished at the very end of last year, 2021. It's super duper long, and I used Moon Glow, my Love in Stitches fade kit, and it's so comfortable and cozy. It was a really, really long knit. It took me a long time, like 5 months or something in between other projects, but it's worth it, and I actually wear it a lot. I usually travel with it because it's thin enough to just like be a really good layer and easy to put on and off. So it's great for like planes and in the car and stuff like that. So I'll make sure to link this one, even though this is not really technically a project that I have been working on. Okay. I think we need to just dive right into it. I have made a ton of progress on my other sweaters that I've been working on. Rhinebeck is just 1 week away, so we need to get moving. Okay, let's talk first about my Alpine Glow. So I have a pseudo finished object because I can wear it, it's done, but it's not actually done. I have some things I need to change about it. So let's talk about it first. This is my Alpine Glow by Andrea Mowry. It is all finished. It's blocked. I did all of the rest of the sleeves last week, and I just love, love, love how it came out. I am gonna put it on for you too, but I wanna talk about a few things first. So first, let's talk about the yarn. I do have my project page linked with like all the details about the yarn, but I wanted to show you how much yarn I have left because I find that's always kind of interesting to know about. All right, here we go. So when I started out this project, sorry, everything's done here. When I started out this project, I made a ton of swatches. I think this was the first one I made, which is a different color. Then I did, I think here's the other one. I did 2 swatches in stockinette, trying to figure out what yarn to use. Then I did another swatch once I got my pink color, which is the one I ended up using. And this was the first cast on that I did for the sweater, and ended up changing my needle size after this. I actually went up a needle size because it was just too uncomfortable to knit like this. So all of this is going to be discarded. I don't hang on to those. I hang on to them until I'm finished with the project, but I don't hang on to them beyond that. So you saw the sweater is finished. I mean, I'm gonna do more on it, but I have an entire skein of main color, not touched. Now, this is probably a little bit more yardage than the pattern called for my size, but still, that's kind of a lot of yarn to have left over. I knew I'd have a ton of this because I needed just more than 1 skein, so I went ahead and bought 2, so tons of my little contrast color here. And then this whole bag has yarn for the sweater. I knew I'd have a ton of this, so that's all left over. I had 2 skeins of Spin Cycle, but I did use quite a lot of that. I feel like there maybe is another one somewhere. I don't know. So I had 2 skeins of that, so quite a bit left. And this is like the little bits that I pulled off. Cleaning up a project bag after you're done is like annoying, but so satisfying, right? Oh, here's the rest of the Spin Cycle. There's that other one. So I'm tempted to hang on to this if I need it in a future project because This is a special color of Spin Cycle from Do You Knit in New Jersey that you can't get anywhere else. And it is still quite a lot. So I feel like since Spin Cycle is often used as an accent color, then I'll just hang on to that. And if I need it later, I need it later. And then I have all of this main color still left that I had used for various things. I'm guessing this was off the body. These two were off of the sleeves. Oh, and my scale is in there. I need to take that out and put it back where it really belongs. So that's a ton of leftover yarn for this project, which to be honest is totally fine with me. I would rather have extra. So let's talk about what's actually going down. There's literally stuff going like everywhere. I'm gonna just stuff all this back in this project bag for now, and I will sort it out later. Okay, so let's talk about this. I think this is gonna be better if I put this on. So let me just throw this on here. So I knew when I blocked this that I might have to make some changes. So you're gonna see that I left ends on the bottom. I left ends at the neckline. And I also left ends inside the sleeves, but let me talk about that after I talk about the changes that I need to make. You can't even see those. I could just leave all the ends inside my sleeve and nobody would ever know. That's the greatest thing about it. Okay, so let's talk about this. Actually, it looks really, really good. I'm so pleased with this sweater. I'm really proud of myself for how it came out. I should have written down the dates, but I believe I cast this on August 29th and I finished it September 30th. Again, it's not actually finished, it's pseudo finished. I have some things I need to go back and change about it, but it is a totally intact sweater, and I don't know if I've ever made a sweater quite so fast before. Before I roll my chair around, I'm gonna pick up the other projects around here. So I'm really proud of it. So the sleeves turned out so good. In case you missed the last episode, what I did with the sleeves is I connected a main color to both of them, but then I used one skein of Spin Cycle to go back and forth. So I did like one colorwork stripe, one colorwork stripe, and one colorwork stripe, repeat, and then I went and started doing two. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. That way I was staying in the same-ish sequence with the Spin Cycle instead of trying to like cut off parts where that Spin Cycle repeated. Let me see if I can grab the yarn again. So many things down here. The Spin Cycle yarn, at least the color that I had, it would have just been hard to like find another repeat that was identical. I feel like there's not, like, I feel like in a regular self-striping yarn, maybe for socks, you might have like color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is not like that. So instead of trying to like cut off pieces and match it, I used a tip from one of my Love and Stitches members, Michaela, and I followed what she did, and that was going back and forth, working 2 repeats, and just cutting the yarn along the way. So I have a bunch of ends in here that, I mean, I don't feel them, they're not bothering me, nothing looks loose. This is where the seam is. So technically, I could just leave them if I wanted to. Like, they're totally not noticeable at all, but I will tell you what I'm gonna do with those in a second. So the changes that I do want to make, first off, is the neckline. So this is not the neckline that is in the pattern. It's actually a twice as tall kind of mock turtleneck that you knit 4 times as tall as what I have here and fold over. And so because of that, can you see this right here? How it's kind of like winging up. It's not doing it quite as bad as it does when I'm not wearing a t-shirt underneath, which I won't be wearing a t-shirt underneath this. This is just its own sweater. I'm not gonna have something underneath it, probably. Maybe a tank top, probably not. But yeah, it just doesn't quite look right. It is getting better, honestly, though, every time I put it on. But I think it just doesn't. I think it's just not right. And I think that's because the neckline is wide because it's intended to have that turtleneck, and the ribbing will kind of draw in and fill in the space, and it will stick up a little bit, but it's supposed to. So because I shortened it and made it only 1 inch instead of a 4-inch fold over, which ends up being 2 inches. It just looks kind of strange. So my plan, at least right now, is that I'm going to unpick. So this was cast on here, knit down, and then you pick up stitches and knit up for the ribbing. So all I'll have to do is take out my tubular bind off. That'll be a little bit annoying. I can just like pick up stitches, probably a few rows down, and cut and unravel. Maybe that will be faster. But I'm planning to just go ahead and do the neck as is. So that's 4 inches of ribbing and then a fold over. Not exactly what I wanted to do, but I think it will look better. It's kind of tempting to leave it now, actually. But yeah, I just think it kind of, I may have to sit with it for a little bit longer. Like I said, every time I put it on, it does a little bit better. Maybe because I have the t-shirt on now that it's not like riding up as much. Who knows? But I probably will go back and fix this neckline to make it more like the pattern. The other thing is that I think I might have made it a little bit short. Okay, so you can see this t-shirt is a long t-shirt. I don't want it as long as this t-shirt, but if I didn't have the t-shirt here, tuck that into my pants. It's a little short. I know it's hard to tell on here, but like, here's my belly button. It like barely goes below my belly button, which for a lot of people would probably be fine. But for me, I think it may be a little too short. This one I'm definitely undecided on right now, but potentially I will be either taking this back or trying to pick up stitches and cut this off to add one more repeat. It's like an inch right here, one more repeat, and then I think it will be long enough. That one I'm kind of like 50-50 on, but look at it, it's so cute. I really like how it came out. It looks pretty good actually with these pants, but these are like jogger comfy pants, and I will be wearing this more likely with jeans. And when I have jeans on, you can just see that it's a little bit too short. Actually, I think I have a picture that I can put in and show you. So Alpine Glow is sort of done. I will probably bring it back next week with some changes and hopefully finalities to it, because I've just learned that even though it's kind of frustrating when you're finished with a project to then have to go back and spend several more hours making changes to it, it is so worth it to have something that you're going to wear rather than just go, I'm over it and it's going to sit in the drawer and I'm never going to pick it out. So I find that it's worth making the changes. And the good thing this time is that I want to wear this next weekend at Rhinebeck, because it is Andrea Mowry's Rhinebeck sweater, and a lot of people made it and a lot of people are going to be wearing it. And so I am kind of forced to not delay on making decisions and go ahead and make any changes that I want to make. If I didn't have time to make any changes, I could obviously wear this as is, but I do have time. So first will be the neck, and then I'll see about the body. Last thing I want to say is that here's all the ends for the sleeves. Now I did already weave in the ends down here and where I like join the armpit, but for the whole rest of the sweater, I have left little pairs of ends. So what I am planning to do, and please note that this is post blocking, I've already blocked, and so I know how much distance I need between each of these ends. I am simply going to take these two strands, tie a knot, double knot, 2 knots. Usually do like 1 knot one way and 1 the other way. And then I will cut, and I will leave like a 1/2 inch of a tail like past that knot. I'm not cutting it right at the knot because again, you don't really feel the ends, and I'd rather have a little room to wiggle and move. And I'm just gonna do that all the way down. So I'll tie these two together and these two together, and you can see like every other spot is where I carried my yarn because I was doing 2 repeats and then cutting the yarn. And so basically where I cut will now become a carry. And that's it. And I know this will work because I've done this on another sweater where I did a lot of color work changes. This was down the back of the sweater and it worked great, and I don't feel it and nothing has come undone. So I'm really proud of this. It actually, I was worried about the yarn. I can't remember if I said it on a podcast or in something else, but I didn't really like how the yarn felt. But honestly, now that it's been blocked 2 times, it does feel a little bit better, a little less rusticy, a lot softer. And I would say that I had a good experience double blocking the yoke. Once I finished the yoke, I blocked it to make sure it was long enough and found out that it needed another inch. So glad I did that. And so when I finished the sweater and I did another block, the yoke got even smoother. So I feel like that's a happy like accident that I learned about kind of double blocking stuff really does help things out. And once I make all those changes, especially if I lengthen it, I'll do another blocking too. So each time you wash it, it just gets a little bit more soft and the stitches even out and it's great. Okay, I think that's enough about the Alpine Glow. Let me get my, you know what? No, I'm gonna leave my sweater off for now because I have one more sweater to show, but this one is not done yet. So after I finished my Alpine Glow, that was like my goal all last week. Make sure my hair is not doing anything crazy after trying that on. But that was my push project all last week. I did finish it by September 30th. Again, it's not totally finished, but I did at least have it done, and I was blocking it on September 30th. I then moved over to my nurtured sweater. So where you saw this last week was 2 sleeves, all done and ready to be attached to the body. I've never made a sweater that's constructed this way. Oh, this is the nurtured sweater by Andrea Mowry. I think I did just say that, but I can't remember. So you work the sleeves from the cuff up, and these will join in like, I'm guessing just right before the armpit. I don't really know. I've never constructed a sweater this way, but you work the sleeves and then the body, or you can do it the other way around, both bottom up, and then you join and do the yoke this way. Never done that before, so it'll be interesting to put it together. So I cast on the body last Friday, and I knit like all weekend. I just went to town knitting. I wasn't feeling super great on Saturday, and it was rainy weather all weekend, and so I just had a lot of time to knit, and ta-da! I did almost a whole body. This has been moving so fast. It is so much fun to do. I cannot get enough of this slip stitch pattern. I just really, really, really enjoy it. So yeah, same thing as the sleeves. Start out with ribbing at the bottom and then just work your way up. And it's looking really great. Before I go too much further, let's talk about the yarn. This yarn is Loop Yin Yang in the color Makeup. And I am making a change on the body. So using the lessons that I learned from my Alpine Glow, I've decided to extend the length of this. So it was supposed to be 8 inches, which I think, let me measure this real quick. I hit 8 inches yesterday. Oh, now I'm at, well, hold on. Now I'm at like 10.5 inches. Okay, so imagine 8 inches. This is very, very cropped. So this is 10.5 inches. So let's take off like this. So imagine this. Belly button here. Ow. That's very, very, very short. So yeah, I didn't want that. So I'm probably gonna go for more like, I don't know, that's even still pretty short. I want it to kind of be like here. So I probably have another couple inches to go. So mine will probably be more like 13 inches. And I feel totally comfortable doing that because I still have so much yarn left. I have this skein still going. So I think that will be plenty to get me to a 13-inch body. And you may be saying, oh no, but the yoke will use so much more yarn. Don't worry, I still have 2 whole skeins of yarn. And this is 1.5. And the sleeves are already done, so I feel really good about having plenty of yarn. I'm really glad that that has been working out that way. So I think I'm just going to extend the body by about 5 inches and make it a full-length sweater, and then I'll be able to proceed with the yoke with these 2 skeins. So yeah, that's all. There's not much more to say about this. I am trying to get it finished for Rhinebeck. I will get it finished for Rhinebeck. My ultimate goal was to finish it by October 5th, which is tomorrow. That's not gonna happen, but I bet I can get the body done today and at least get it joined and working on the yoke, so that I can start my West Knits mystery shawl knit, which will be starting on Thursday morning. And it's okay that there's gonna be a little bit of an overlap. I still have like 8 days to go to get all my Rhinebeck sweater knitting done. And so that includes finishing the sweater and making adjustments on the Alpine Glow, which is why I'm gonna go one thing at a time. Neck first, and then see if I have time to change the body before Rhinebeck. But yeah, this should be done. This yarn, look at this texture. This yarn is so cozy and soft. I'm really excited to see how everything turns out with this sweater. My friend Amy is making one too with the opposite yin yang yarn. So you can see mine is, hold on. Mine has 3 strands of the tan and 1 strand of pink. Hers has 3 strands of pink and 1 strand of tan. So hers is like super hot pink and mine's like still hot pink, but not as, a little more subtle. So I think we're gonna look pretty cute together in our sweaters. I just wanted to briefly show my muscle burrow hat that I'm working on for Kent. I have done like a row in the last week because I actually started a new project for On The Go knitting. And I've been working on the nurtured sweater a lot. So this is going to be hibernating for a little while. It is off of the whip list and going into my basket, and I'm gonna worry about it later on because I've cast on a new hat. And this hat is also for Kent, and he said he wants this one earlier than the muscle burrow hat, so that's fine. That's what I'm going to do. I have it in my new Erin Lane bag from DFW Fiberfest. This was a fabric that you could only get there, I believe. And the yarn that I'm using is from DFW Fiberfest. So this is from Charming You. Let me show the label and then I'll come back to that. I know that didn't focus. This is from Charming You, and it is their Suki sock base, and the color is called Escalante. Now Kent picked out this color because it looks like the Miami Dolphins, which is why he wants a hat for football season. And football season ends earlier than hockey season. This hat is for hockey. This hat is for football. So let's get a better look at this yarn. Really does look like the Miami Dolphins. And you can still get this yarn on Charming You's website if you are also a Miami Dolphins fan. So I took 1 skein and I split it in half. So these are 2 50-gram cakes from 1 skein because I had an issue with my last variegated yarn where it pulled like this, and then on the top of the hat it looked like this. And I should have known better, because when you use a variegated yarn or anything that kind of does like color splotches or anything like that, when you change your stitch count, the way that the yarn looks will change. I also am not a huge fan of the spiral. I'd actually rather have it look like this with all over color. Really, I'd just rather it match. So since this yarn also had, it's not quite as variegated, but it does have like the, there we go. It has like the splotches of orange every few inches, I guess. Not every few inches, but like, it's easier to explain. I wish I had saved the actual skein. In the skein itself, when it's still a loop, how you can kind of tell if your yarn is going to do this, or at least what I'm learning from it, a dyer would explain this better, but you see like, I saw like mostly blue and white, and then I saw like orange and orange. So like on the skein itself, it was like orange all in one spot, orange all in one spot, like spaced out. So when I'm knitting, that means like orange is going to come back around in the same place. And so when you're knitting in the round, that's what this was doing. Black was only a small, or I'm sorry, white was only a small part of it. Black and green were bigger parts of it. But because knitting is a spiral, these white stitches would show up in nearly the same spot, just a little bit forward because it's a spiral every time I knitted, and that's what contributed to a spiral. I was not striping. I did not want that to happen in this hat. I talked to Kent and he's like, no, I want it to look like all over, like colors blended everywhere. So I'm trying this based on your suggestions. I split the skeins in half. One skein I am pulling from the center and the other one I'm pulling from the outside. So essentially, I'm not sure if this is the most important thing or it's just having the two skeins, but essentially I'm working from like each end of this yarn because the center is like the beginning of the skein and the outside of the second one is the end of the skein. So I'm working from two different directions and I'm doing 1 row stripes with helical knitting. And helical knitting is just a technique to do 1 row stripes without having to carry your yarn. It's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the hat. Now this is a pattern that I've kind of adapted from an old pattern that's no longer available on Ravelry. It was called 2x2 Ribbed for His Pleasure, very funny name. It was a free pattern and it was basically just a 2x2 ribbed hat. I've taken it and made some adjustments to the cast on, to the decreases to make it a hat that I like a little bit more. So if you want to make a hat like this, I don't have any sizes, it's not a real pattern. I have just put instructions in the project page of this hat. So you can go look there. So I started out, let's get in here, with the tubular cast on, a 2x2 tubular cast on. So close, come on. There we go. I haven't done very much. I basically did the tubular cast on and then did 1 row and stopped. But a tubular cast on is just a way to make a more finished edge on 1x1 or 2x2 ribbing. And then I am working each of my skeins. So I will work a row with one, then work the next row with the next one. And I am hoping that this will spread out. See how the orange stitches all come together in like one deal here? I'm hoping that doing the striping, doing the helical knitting, doing the one skein from the center and the other from the outside will make the orange stitches show up in different spots of the hat rather than always coming in at the same place. So to be determined, I am working on this when I can here and there as an on-the-go knitting project, but we haven't really been out of the house since I cast this on. I just got a cast on and started and ready so that I could work on it when we leave. So that's it. It's a 2x2 hat. I make it kind of long so it can roll up, and all of the notes for it are on my project page. Okay, I think that's it as far as projects go. So let's move on and talk about what's coming up next. At the beginning of the month, I like to take some time and organize my project goals. This is also when I look at my stash that was in last week's podcast and just kind of get prepared for the month ahead. I haven't been doing this my entire knitting life. I really just started doing it this year in this way, which is writing things in notebooks. I still keep track of all my projects on Ravelry, but this is kind of how I keep my knitting goals narrowed down and figure out what I'm going to work on each day. This has been monumental in actually finishing projects and learning about what I like to knit this year, and I would recommend it if you'd like to try it. So in September, we have 2 notebooks here because I finished this one and just got a new one that I've started. I write in here more than just my knitting. But anyway, my September project plans looked a lot like this. So I had 2 whips when I started the month. I had Alpine Glow and I had a Musselburgh hat, both of which I wanted to finish. So even though this is not technically done, I am considering this goal met because I did actually complete the sweater in September, which is great, even though I have to make tweaks to it. And then this was actually the Musselburgh hat that I was talking about, but I also ended up starting and finishing another one, though I am probably going to take half of that out and change it later on. I wear this one all the time. This is Circus Tonic handmade, and I made it extra long, and I've been wearing it a lot. I think I said when I first finished this, like, I don't think I need to make extra long ones because I don't really like folding it up, but I actually really like it. It's so warm and it uses an entire skein of sock yarn, which is great because then you don't have to really waste any yarn. So I love that project. So those goals were both completed. My other goal was to cast on my nurtured sweater, which you saw I did get it cast on, and I've knit more than half of it. So I feel really good about that. That's basically it. I didn't really have like solid plans. You can see it's kind of like scratched up and stuff. It's interesting, like throughout the year, I have been narrowing down how many whips that I am working on. So whereas in August and like the previous months, I kind of had like, okay, this is the project I'm going to work on in the morning. This is the project I'll work on at lunch. This is the project I'll work on in the evening. And I didn't do that for September because I just really was like, you know, I had a project that I worked on when I was out of the house and I had a project that I worked on when I was home. And that's kind of it. And so for my October plans, I have changed things up a bit. So I want to show you that. I'm still using a notebook and keeping track of everything. Hang on. It's like all the pages are so fresh and crisp because I'm at the very beginning of this notebook. So that's not it. That was my planning. I also use this for planning every single week. Where are these? Okay, found them. Here we go. So on one page, I have my in and out for my stash. And on the other page, I have my project plans. And you can see it looks a little different this month. So I didn't put at the top like whips and cast ons and all of that stuff. Instead, I've done a week by week breakdown because I know that this month I really have one thing that I'm going to be working on after I finish my sweaters. And other than that, I'm not super concerned with the progress that I make on like the hat and everything like that. Like that will just come. I don't need to plan it out necessarily. So I've broken things down instead by weeks, and I've written the dates, Sunday through Saturday, however you want to do weeks is fine. And I've just given myself little like things to do. So like this week, being the first week of October, I wanted to cast on the dolphin's hat, which I did. You see there's a little check mark there. And then later this week, I'm going to cast on my twists and turns. I'll come back to that in a second, and just continue to work on the body of my nurtured sweater. I should also add on here that I want to make tweaks to my Alpine glow. Then, yeah, I just kind of have those things for each week. I'm going to be working on twists and turns. So I have like Clue 1 written in the first week, Clue 2, Clue 3, Clue 4. You can see like the last couple weeks, all that's on there is twists and turns because I don't really know what else is going to come. So let's talk about those projects. Trying something a little different. So we'll see how it goes. So my first project I know for sure will be cast on this month is Twists and Turns by Stephen West. So these 4 skeins came from my kit, which was called Pink Blush. And then this last one came from a friend because I didn't like my accent color. So I'm going to be using that. I'm actually going to get everything wound up and ready today. I'm going to be doing like a fun little video throughout the whole make along that at the end I'll show. So it should be fun. It'll be spoiler free because it'll be after. Well, it'll be full of spoilers, but it'll be way after the fact. So look for that. So that'll take 5 skeins out of my stash. Excited about that. And then the only other thing I'm thinking about casting on for this month is this beautiful skein of yarn. I showed a lot of these last week from Arcane Fiberworks. This one is called Hocus Pocus. And so I have in my notebook to cast on some Halloween socks next week, but I'm going to see. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on myself to have like a bazillion different projects. I already have the one hat to have for on-the-go knitting. I don't really think I need anything else, but I do want to work on something that is holiday related. So I might be casting this on, I might not. That's a maybe. So that's my plans for the month. Work on these projects and finish the sweaters in the next week. That's really it. It's going to be a month of shawl knitting. So yeah, that's what we'll be talking about in the podcast starting next week. So if you are making the Stephen West mystery knit along, you're going to have to skip through the project page part or the project part if you are not caught up, because I am trying my hardest this year to stay caught up on all of the clues week over week and finish in 4 weeks. I was so close last year. I think I was like 4 weeks and 2 days or something like that. And not that that really matters, but it would just be really cool to actually like finish at the finish line that I'm setting in my head. And so I want to see if I can manage that. I think that's all. Yeah, I don't know. The big overarching goal is to finish my stash this year and work through all of it. And so once I'm working on these, I have basically 2 sweater quantities of yarn and 2 odds and ends left. And that's it. Pretty wild. So that's going to be my big push, I think, for November, but now I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll just talk about October for right now and worry about November when we get there. This week we have a brand new vlog called Football and Knitting. So Kent and I took 3 trips in September, all for football games, but obviously there was lots of other things going on along the way, like food and knitting and all of that stuff. Honestly, I feel like this is the best vlog that we've ever made. So please go check it out. And here's a little sneak peek so you can see what is in it. So if you're interested in watching that vlog, I'll leave a link down in the description box below. There's also some other things going on this week. So coming up next week, I guess this weekend, next week, but coming up next week, Tuesday's video is most likely going to be a Sockmas announcement. I know it's like only October, but Sockmas is my annual knit along that happens at the end of November. It's a 3-week sock knit along, and I always have fun exclusive products, and I want to share those with you and give you a heads up before the shopping period opens, because there's a limited number and they usually go really, really fast. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to do a YouTube live or do a pre-recorded video, so stay tuned and I will have more information about that. The other thing that you want to make sure you're hopping right on if you're watching this on Thursday or Friday is the Love and Stitches membership. It's only open through midnight Eastern time on Friday, October 7th. So if you are catching this then and you want to join us, there's more information down below. You can find out all about it. I shared a lot about it in the last podcast, so I don't want to take up more of your time, especially if you're not interested, but you can read all about it there and send me an email if you have any questions. If you missed out on joining us for this quarter, we will be reopening in January of 2023. Last thing is that Rhinebeck is coming up next week. I cannot believe it's already here. So just a rundown on what I'm going to be, where I'm going to be for those different days. On Friday, I'm going to be at Cakepalooza in the morning from 10 to noon. Then I'm going to head over to Woolen Folk and I will be there for probably most of the day. I'm going to be at Rhinebeck on Saturday for all of the day. I don't really know when we're going to get there, but I will be there. I'll be wearing my Alpine Glow on Saturday. I will have some kind of meetup on Saturday, but again, I'm just not sure what time it's going to be yet. Hopefully I'll have that information for the next podcast, but Instagram will be the best place to find out if you want to meet up. And of course, if you just see me around, just like stop me and say hi. And then I'll also be there on Sunday. On Sunday, I guess, is when I'm going to wear my dress. I don't know yet. I'll have to look at the weather. I haven't really planned it out. I can't believe that it's already coming up next week. So obviously very, very excited, and we will have lots of different videos about Rhinebeck. I'm going to put on my Instagram at some point, like a place for a Q&A about Rhinebeck, and then specifically like film answers at Rhinebeck for those things that you have questions about. So if you're planning to go at some time in the future and you want to ask some questions or you're just curious about it, be on the lookout for that on Instagram as well. Let's talk life. So the past week has really zoomed by. I think it's because we got home on Monday from our big trip to Texas last Monday, and then I recorded a podcast last Wednesday, and so I'm like, wait, didn't I just do a podcast? I don't think we've done anything between then and now except for work. But that's not really true. We did have a little bit of fun over the weekend. On Friday, Kent's friend was in town. He's visiting from California, so we went and met him for lunch at one of our favorite Japanese izakaya places, which was great. And then Saturday and Sunday and like yesterday and today, it's basically been raining. So we did have some plans to go and watch this Broadway thing on Sunday, but we just ended up staying home all weekend long, which not complaining. Watched a ton of YouTube, knitted a ton on my nurtured sweater. I basically just sat on the couch all of Saturday because I wasn't feeling super well. But then on Sunday, I did some cleaning, which was great. When you're out of town, like we were for so many days in a row, it's like your house just becomes a disaster. So it was really nice to just have the time to do a little cleaning, sit and knit for a couple hours, do a little more cleaning, sit and knit for a few hours. So that felt really good. I feel like we needed that reset, especially since we're going out of town next weekend for Rhinebeck. I mean, that's basically all we did. I couldn't really even think of anything else that we did over the weekend. I am reading a new book. I am reading The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is the second of 3 books in the Inheritance games, which I just finished the week before. And then aside from watching YouTube, I have been watching Bachelor in Paradise. I love that show. And Abbott Elementary. I really like that. It's on ABC or you can watch it on Hulu. And as a former teacher, it's a really, really funny show. Okay, weekly wins. I am just super proud of Kent and myself, I guess, but mostly Kent because we have, I think this vlog that we made last week, I know I already said this, but I think it's the best one we've ever made. But it's more, the win is more about us just like working together because working with like family, a spouse or whatever, just, it can be hard. And it's been like, it's still difficult for Kent and I because the work that we do is always changing. It's not like we can just be like, okay, this video is going to take us 3 hours. No, this vlog that we did yesterday, literally we filmed for over 8 days and it took, I think, 12 hours to edit. Like, it is just a lot of work. And I'm so proud of us because I can see that we're growing and in the way that we work together, and really able to like go back and forth creatively, and Kent does the editing, but then I will sit down and watch it and go, oh, I think we need this here and this text and this order and stuff like that. So just the way that that video came out and the way that the behind the scenes process that you don't see went with this video, it's just really a sign that we're getting so much better at this. And I hope that you can see that too in the way that the videos come out. So I guess it's a weekly win for Kent. I'm saying that it's his weekly win, but for me as well, it's such a good feeling to be able to do that and work together well. All right, that's everything for this episode. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.